Ladies and gentlemen, you are now tuned into the Schrobank Show, live from the Rated R Studios. I'm Papa Schroeder. I also got my man Rated R Randy.
What's cracking?
EDJ.
What's going on?
And Rowdy Ray.
What's happening?
Also, we got B on the couch over here.
Don't address me.
But we got a great episode coming up. We got a few debates to get into between Mike Tyson and how he would fare against the rest of all-time great heavyweights.
He knocking them the fuck out. You ain't got a mic, man. Yeah, they gonna hear me though. Barely.
Another good segment of True or False, and as well as a little bit of NBA playoffs we got to get into.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know who he is. Kid Dynamite, Iron Mike Tyson. So today we wanted to pose a question. How would Tyson fare against the all-time greats in the heavyweight division? You know, Ali, George Foreman, Joe Louis, and the rest of the greats. So, fellas, I'll open it up to you guys.
Again with the Rick Ross. God damn it,
You're
Randy.
leaving more work for Levi to edit out.
It's okay. They can keep this.
Let's be on the couch.
Just be on the couch, Chief.
He ignorant.
I'm
He ain't
ignorant.
got a mic. Be on the couch about to be out the house. You ain't got no car.
Oh,
Roll with me.
nor Mike.
Way to put my business out there.
Sorry. These are the facts. But not to tell you the truth, I just don't see many all-time great heavyweights faring well against Mike Tyson.
Yeah, prime Mike Tyson. I agree with that. There's so much power in that man's hands.
So power, speed,
Mm-hmm.
little size in there. Even though he was shorter, just
Yeah,
big
the
stocky
man was a
figure.
tank.
Yeah,
This man shadow boxed with 20-pound dumbbells. Like,
Yeah.
that's
And
not fair.
Exactly, and still managed to retain most of his speed. That's
Yeah.
scary. And also, like, when you like look into like his training habits, how this man was hypnotized by Custody Amato. Like, he actually would sit there and hypnotize this man to make him go into a trance. Like, you're not fighting a man at that point. You're fighting a
bad man.
I ain't a man. That's a machine. I'm not fighting that. That's fighting a robot at that point with intents to kill. That is a Terminator. No.
So in terms of Joe Louis, how do you guys think he would have fared? Or Joe Louis would have fared against him?
I can't put anybody over Tyson in Tyson's peak prime.
Not even Ali.
I would probably call that a draw. I would say, if it went the distance, I don't know if it would, but Ali was so good at making people miss, I think it would go to the decision. But Tyson in his elite prime was so terrifying that it was literally almost impossible to see anyone beat him, and it's just hard to really think that you could find somebody like that.
He was terrifying, but do you think that Ali would have been terrified?
No.
I don't think that...
That's why I think it would go to decision.
Yeah.
Because Ali is... Him and Ali are the best boxers of all time. If you want to put Floyd in that conversation, you can, but I don't. But then again, they'll never fight each other. In history, it won't happen. But
Big weight difference, too.
and yeah, the weight difference, and the bigger guys hit harder. It's just part of it. So I mean, yeah, Tyson Ali in their primes, that's a draw. But anyone in Tyson in his prime, Tyson wins that fight.
So does anyone have a bolder take on Ali versus Tyson instead of pussyfooting around like EDJ just did?
Nah, I think Tyson. Honestly, I think he knocks him out. I think that if what you say goes to a decision, I think that's Ali's fight all day. Like, I don't think that if it gets past the first few rounds, I don't think Tyson fares well.
Well, that's what I was saying. I mean, that's
Okay.
part of Ali's strategy, right? He's not going to
Right.
try to just swing against Tyson. Ali was too smart.
Right.
So if it would go to decision, it would have been Ali's fight or a draw. But that's part of Ali's game plan. It wasn't to just stand there with Tyson. He's not an idiot.
That's true.
So that would probably be why.
I think it would be really difficult for Ali to deal with the power that Mike Tyson possesses. I don't think that Ali would be able to deal with that, because even the way Ali moves and boxed, I think he still gets hit. He still gets touched. But how many Tyson punches can you really just roll with, though?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
Not
that's
that many.
Right. That's my opinion on it. I think within the first 3 to 4 rounds, I think a prime Mike Tyson gets a hold of Muhammad Ali.
A prime Ali though?
Yeah, no, I was kind of just thinking that as I said it. Like, that's tough.
The only way I can see it going bad for Ali is if he's dumb and wants to meet Mike Tyson in the middle and brawl with him. That's the only way I see it going bad for Ali.
But it only takes one.
It does only take one. But I think Ali's chin was good enough so he could take one.
That's true.
And he's probably only going to get one anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Y'all think Tyson's only landing just one? That just that one bomb?
well, I think once Ali realizes that it's probably the
That
hardest
he's in trouble.
punch he's ever had,
Yeah.
then yeah, I think he only gets one. Or attempts to only get one. Put it that way.
But yeah, and the way that I'm thinking of he only gets one of those good clean shots in the first few rounds. Like, and that's what's gonna finish Ali, I think. I think if it gets past the 4th or 5th round, like, it's Ali's fight at that point.
Okay, so 6 rounds and up, Ali.
Yeah.
All right, so if you could run that 10 times, how many times you see Ali taking it?
7.
Honestly, I was gonna say 5.
I was going to say 4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. About a nice little, it's a 50-50
Yeah.
to me.
I don't think so. I think at the end of the day, you have to box. And I think Ali had that skill more so than Tyson did.
Oh, I agree completely with you there. But I think the power and speed that we haven't seen that in anybody else other than Tyson. That combination, you know. And I think that for any boxer through time, that's going to be very difficult to handle.
Oh, yeah. Especially, like, when you talk about his prowess, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, we keep going to Ali's skill. Well, you know, a prime Mike Tyson wasn't unskilled. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not saying he wasn't skilled.
Because, I'm saying, like...
He wasn't skilled to the level that Ali was.
No, obviously not. But I'm saying, like, with the ability to make opponents miss and then capitalize off those mistakes. Because I feel like he would be able to draw Ali into a few mistakes himself. He'd be able to, you know, plant a trap and then, you know, capitalize on said trap.
I think that's debatable.
And I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, we call it the sweet science for a reason. It would literally be a chess match we were watching. You know?
For sure.
Yeah, it would be.
But I'm starting to think of, like, how many boxers that were supreme athletes had that otherworldly punching ability, and you put them against a skilled boxer. Like, how has that fared more times than not?
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Mike Tyson.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. But along these lines, how does that?
I don't think there is anything else along these lines, though. I don't think that anybody, like I just said a minute ago, I don't think anybody has the power-speed combo that Tyson has possessed. I don't think there's any boxer ever that's ever possessed the same skill set that Mike Tyson had in his prime.
But putting this template on the average boxers, if you're putting this template on the average boxers, how would that fare? How does supreme punching power, size and strength, like the better athlete, usually fare against the more skilled boxer?
Depends on the skilled boxer.
It does depend. Well,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is,
I'm taking the skilled boxer when we talk about
more times than not, when I watch that type of fight, the skilled boxer usually takes that.
Yeah,
Right.
I would take that.
And now we're not just talking about any skilled boxer. We're talking about Ali. But at the same time, we're not talking about any
just raw athlete.
We're talking about Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
That's true. At the end of the day, you're ramping it up on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, because it's two extremes at that point.
Yeah, it's a tricky debate. I mean, but it's... Who wanted to get punched in the face by Tyson?
Nobody.
I mean, nobody.
Nobody.
I mean, I've never
Frank
seen...
You remember when he said that? You don't remember when he said
I
that?
don't even remember this.
Oh, when he said that he would love to get punched by Mike Tyson.
Retarded.
Yeah.
It's idiotic. I
He
mean,
couldn't even take hard ones, but anyway.
could barely take Lesnar's. I mean...
Who's that big dude in the UFC that Tyson was like, I don't know, they had kind of a mini altercation.
Altercation?
No, it was not an altercation, but it was just like
A little beef.
Tyson was like talking to each other. I don't know if it was one of the guys.
Are you talking about they was cool? Oh no, you talking about when? Are you talking about when Glover was like paying homage to Tyson?
No. I think it was like Bob Sapp.
He was never in the UFC, but yeah, Bob Sapp, yeah, he was in Dream, Pride,
Yeah,
a bunch of Japanese organizations. Like
And I remember him
Don't
winning
get
a
me started.
fight, and Tyson got up there. He wanted to fight Tyson, or
Bro, he
whatever.
did not want them problems with Tyson.
Well, Mike Tyson actually, before Pride was bought by the UFC, had a deal in place to have a boxing match in 4-ounce gloves. In
Really?
Pride, yeah. He was planning to somewhat venture into MMA, or at least into an MMA promotion.
So since we're on the boxing subject, I think we said all we can really say about how Tyson would fare against Ali and the other greats. So pound for pound, what are you guys thinking as far as boxing goes? Pound for pound, who is your top 3?
Top 3.
Just all time or heavyweights?
All time.
All time. Ooh. That's hard.
I mean, I think I'm taking Ali number 1.
Pound for pound, Ali?
Yeah, personally.
All time?
All time.
Just going off the tape, I've sat and watched. I'll probably take Sugar Ray Robinson.
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with it.
You know what I'm saying?
And a lot of people would say, like, oh, he's back in the day. You ain't really watching. But the thing about boxing, I think it's one of the few sports where the talent back then translates the best to now. Best to current day than any other
Yeah,
sport.
because it's not like new techniques are being developed or anything. Only
Right.
thing that's different is just better athletes.
Better athletes, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it could go either way. One or two, Ali or Sugar Ray Robinson.
Yeah.
That 3 spot is where it starts to get real murky, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could pick one of the best guys from an era, and you could throw that dude in there. You know what I'm saying? You could throw in Sugar Ray Leonard. You could throw in Marvin Hagler. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some guys or you could throw in Floyd, but, that it gets really murky. So, my 3 spot, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I'm going to stick with the Sugar Rays and go with Leonard. That's my 3.
Leonard or Robinson?
You got
You
Robinson
got Robinson and Leonard
at
at 1 and 3, and then you got Ali at 2?
Mm-hmm.
Ali and Robinson 1 and 2, and then Leonard at 3. He's the hard 3.
Gotcha. Either Papa Schroeder or EDJ.
Man, I don't know. It's hard to put a third on Ali and Tyson. It really is, but I don't know. Maybe Holyfield or Mayweather, one of the two. I mean, I guess you have to give respect to Mayweather because of how better the athletes are now than they were. I wish he would have fought, people in their prime when he was in their prime. That would have been nice to see. But yeah, Ali and Tyson 1 and 2, but third, I have no idea. I would put Holyfield or Mayweather, but that's a very loose third.
Gotcha. I think that I'm kind of gonna agree with you, but I got Ali number 1, and I got Ray is who I'm agreeing with. Sugar Ray Robinson at 2. Number 3 though, I think that's tough. I kind of want to go with the same thing EDJ was kind of saying with the Floyd at number 3, because like he said, it's hard to. I wouldn't say the talent now, but like he was saying, the athletes, now are so superior, and the way he did it, like the defense that Floyd Mayweather employed, like if you love boxing,
like really love boxing,
watch Floyd. Like,
Floyd, it was a treat to see too.
It really was.
Really...
And whatever people want to say that he was boring and whatnot, well, I mean, that's your opinion. It may stink, but that's your opinion. He was not boring. Like,
I was like,
at the end of the day, that's my personal opinion. My opinion may stink.
Exactly.
But
they want to say this, that, and about him. Like,
right.
Why couldn't anybody beat him? And he was beating dudes bigger than him. You
right.
know what I'm saying? He was giving up all types of different advantages to these guys, and they still couldn't beat him.
But at the end of the day, I also have to say the same thing about the EDJ said. He should have fought people in their prime.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's always going to be the big knock.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Because, I mean, we were robbed of
him
Pacquiao.
Oh, my God.
Dude.
That should have been a trilogy.
Yeah. For sure. What you got, Randy?
I'm definitely going with Rowdy Ray with Sugar Ray Robinson at the forefront of my pound for pound list. Ali obviously at 2. That 3 is where it gets murky. I can't necessarily put Tyson there.
Nah.
For me, I can't really see Tyson there.
There's too many like greater heavyweights to me to put him at a 3 spot, even in my top 5 to be real about it.
Yeah.
It's very tough. I'm thinking from the standpoint, this is tough. I'm either going with Leonard at 3, or I could easily see myself putting Joe Louis at 3.
That's hard. That's hard.
But that era at the same time, I don't think they could really. I think that era was a little bit too far back.
What, the Joe
Yes.
Louis?
Joe Louis era. So I'm not sure if they could really hang with the guys now too much. More so in Joe Louis's case, because I feel like Sugar Ray Robinson was just way ahead of his time. He was so ahead of his time.
He had it all. Speed, power, precision, defense. You know what I'm saying? And like
And that's a middleweight.
I don't even think he was
any
middleweight.
weight. This
Okay.
man was floating literally.
Yeah, he
between,
was,
like
though.
light
Yeah.
heavyweight, like cruiserweight, all the way to as low as lightweight. I want to say.
Or
Yeah, he was a little guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like he would float between about $150, between $150 and like $190. Like this was his fluctuating weight.
yeah,
It was something else to see.
yeah. I'm not the best with honestly boxing.
It's-
Weight classes confuse me.
Yeah,
Just to be
especially
real.
like being introduced to weight classes through MMA,
Yeah.
and then trying to translate it to
Right.
boxing does not make any sense.
Not at all.
So when we're on the subject of Floyd, obviously you guys said it was a knock that Floyd didn't fight some fighters in their prime.
Yeah,
So with that being said, did Floyd's career affect boxing positive or for the better or worse?
I say both.
I'll say for the better, because there was always people ducking. Like there was always going to be people that would duck certain people. It was just bound to happen. But the fact that he managed to put so many eyes on boxing when it was damn near dead. You know what I'm saying? Post 90s boxing, damn near dead.
Yeah.
He came back in the early 2000s and really put a spark behind it and kept it going all the way into the 2010s. And now we kind of see, they're trying to put it back on national television with PBC and Top Rank Boxing, and now it's on streaming service with DAZN, and you know what I'm saying? Like
ESPN Plus, they got the Lomachenko fight.
Exactly. Like, oh, that's where it was. See, I could not find it last night.
Was it last night? I thought
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
it was
yeah.
last night.
It was
Yeah,
last night.
ESPN Plus.
Yeah, it wouldn't be smart for them to go against the UFC tonight, but
That's true.
yeah, nah, man, and like just seeing where boxing is now, like people still like really care about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like I won't say he solely, did it, but like he was really carrying the torch for boxing. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think like I said, yes and no. I feel like yes for all the same reasons you said. Not to mention the amount of money that he's drawing and bringing in, and that just gives headway to boxers behind him. So I say yes and no, but I say no because the same reasons we've been talking about is mainly the Pacquiao fight. Like that's the one for me that's like
A stain?
yeah, because that
one
is-
and the De La Hoya one. Those
yeah.
two are kind of stains for me.
On Floyd's part?
I feel like he could have fought De La Hoya a little earlier in his career.
See, okay, so with the De La Hoya, I don't know who was lobbying for that first. Was De La Hoya coming after him for years and saying...
I mean, they were always floating around in the same division, and that's the thing that bothers me about boxing is the fact that there's so many belts. You know what I'm saying? And it kind of just fractures everything, and then everything becomes contractual obligations. And,
Well, and just at the end of the day, I mean, I think the UFC has laid a blueprint for boxing almost to be
this is the
popular again because
In what regards?
not popular again because it is popular and there are things, but just the fact that you need one organization to hold everything together for the most part. You know what I mean? Like the way that the promoters do in boxing. I mean,
So you're talking about a union of sorts.
yeah.
Yeah, they most definitely need that.
they
Because
do, but
it's
it'll
too,
never happen.
Oh
Yeah,
no, it'll
that's a
never
fact,
happen.
yeah.
But it's just too scattered and it's too hard to follow. There was something that I just watched. I watched Creed 2 a week or two ago, and when he was trying to make the fight between Creed and Drago, saying that he's the heavyweight champ of the world, but how many people out here you think like how many heavyweight champions can you name? At the end of the day, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's so many. There's
Yeah.
been, how many ever world champs, but
Cause
how many do you know?
Because I was like, if you want to talk about like heavyweight champs, like, you know, you got Deontay Wilder, you got Tyson Fury, you got Anthony Joshua, like, and that's just 3. Like, that's it should not be that splintered.
And you see world title fights all the time. It's like, who
Exactly.
are either of these guys?
Then,
you know what I'm saying?
And then it's the worst part because you have to go by the 3 major organizations: the IBF, the WBA, and the WBO, and it's become such a bureaucracy that
Because like
it's been muddied.
Like what I was saying with the UFC. I mean, in the UFC, you're pretty much forced to fight like whoever is right there.
The top
like,
guy.
Yeah, like
outside of certain politics.
I mean, exactly. And
I think that's one of the pros and cons of the UFC is that you're forced to fight the best, but at the same time, you're not gonna have a Floyd Mayweather type of figure in the UFC, if that makes sense. You have your guys that's gonna come close,
yeah,
but you can't. Because you're not gonna be as Teflon as a boxer like Floyd.
Well, are you just going off of his no losses?
Yeah,
I mean, but I'll trade in a dude being 50-0 for
most, and that's
You know what I'm saying?
that's
Yeah.
the benefit, or I guess the pros of what the UFC does. You have to fight the best,
right.
So, but I guess Floyd's biggest business, his draw was the fact that he was quote unquote basically Teflon in boxing. Like
Oh,
you're
for
not
sure.
touching him.
But then also, when you look at it on the other side of things, I mean, look at how much money Floyd's made.
Yeah.
Right.
Ain't no UFC fighter ever gonna make money like
Ever.
that. Connor's made a lot of money, right?
This man has barely scratched the surface of what Floyd is.
Exactly. That's not even. I mean, that is sneezing money. Like
Yeah, like that's weekend Dubai money for this man.
exactly. So there's pros and cons to both of those, but for me personally, Floyd just the stain of the Pacquiao thing, because honestly, like Ray was saying a minute ago, there should have been a trilogy with them two, and I mean that would have been another. I mean, think about it, boxing history. I mean, great trilogies you think of. I mean, fighting in general. I mean, MMA, same thing. You think of great trilogies. And that's what makes, a great rivalry and whatnot. And I think the late 2000s could have had an amazing rivalry with Pacquiao and Floyd.
Yeah.
For sure. I think he bettered boxing for the most part, but like Levi, it's yes and no. I mean, the cons of Floyd is he's supreme businessman, but at the same time, you would have liked to see him put that same energy into entertaining fans. You would have liked him go toe to toe with the best in their primes. I think there's many guys he could have fought towards the end of his career. I mean, it's no coincidence that his last fight happened against Berto.
Andre Berto. Yeah, come on.
Who the fuck wants to watch that?
Yeah, like
And the scenes of that, like the last seconds of that fight, is disturbing to me because after he knew he won, he was just prancing around the ring, and it's just like, dude, you know you were gonna beat him.
And like that's the worst part because it's almost like him like gloating that he robbed us. You know? What
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that.
But all in all,
Not
he
to mention
opened.
the fucking tension fight.
Boy,
Because that
do
shit
not
was...
get me started on a young kickboxer, a 22, 23, or 20 something.
That don't count though. That was
I
exhibition.
know it's exhibition.
That's
but
exhibition.
Like,
That's
still,
true.
What?
It was a fixed
There was no
fight, too,
point.
so.
All right, come on, cuz stop the conspiracy. Bro.
Hey, I'm just
Cut the
saying.
conspiracy.
Come on, watch a fight and then watch that.
Hey, bro.
That's
Until we get full proof, bro. it's all
That dude was
speculation.
crying. The dude he beat was crying.
yeah. You gotta act when you fucking
Nah.
fixing a fight.
See,
That wasn't just regular crying. That was like, I shamed my nation.
Exactly. No, it was.
I shamed my nation.
It was. I gotta make you believe.
Hey, no.
I shaved my name.
I shamed my nation, bro. Like, they about to kick me out this motherfucker. That's what. Yeah, he had them type tears.
Oh, okay, fair enough. EDJ, what's your take on Floyd Mayweather's career?
Obviously, his branding is probably something we'll never see again. I mean, the guy literally transcended himself more than the sport of boxing. I mean, when you think of boxing, you think Floyd Mayweather first, in this era anyway. And then you think of boxing next. So, at the same time, I can't consider him he saved himself and he made himself a big brand, and I think that's why people follow boxing. I don't think people followed boxing because they got interested in it again. They got interested in following Floyd Mayweather. And that's just kind of, so it is a credit to him. But to the sport of boxing, I think they're on the right path with good athletes and better boxers. Not to say that he's not the best boxer, but better
it's
boxers.
It's a consistent
all
pool of talent. I agree with you.
And to kind of piggyback off what EJ was saying, like, when you really think about the ascension of Floyd, there was a big void there. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, you know, you're kind of watching the decline of, like, you know, Tyson. You're watching the decline of Roy Jones Jr., you know what I'm saying? Like, there was a big hole left there, and, like, you know, the best thing you could watch is, like, you know, the Klitschko bros, you know, hug people.
Yeah.
You know, you got this young guy talking a lot of shit, you know, really putting on shows for the people, and, you know, he's unstained. It was just almost like a perfect storm. It was almost like it was just meant to happen.
Kind of like Jordan, where there were guys there, but
like, their legends were kind
after Larry and Magic, like, there wasn't really...
Exactly, what was really there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you watch him and just help transcend the game.
Yeah.
So now, you know, we're kind of looking for the next guy. And Canelo is kind of looking like that guy. Kind of. But it's just he's put a lot of smut on his own rep.
He doesn't give me enough. For
That's
a man that's his size, he just doesn't give me enough good fights. You got Triple G and that's it.
Because like, you've seen how talented he is. He is one of the, like, best, like, pure boxers I've seen in my, like, you know, my young life. Like, it's amazing to watch that dude. But just the fact that, like, you know, he's edging by, like, barely getting by Triple G. And I'm a Triple G fan, but, like, he really should have blew that man out the water. You know what I'm saying? If he's as good as I thought he was, but it's not like he's really proving it. But another young up-and-comer, Terrence Crawford.
Crawford, yes.
Yeah. Crawford Cole. Him.
You got Gervonta Davis. Errol Spence. Dismantled Mikey Garcia.
Yeah.
Dismantled him.
The main fight I'm really waiting on is Gervonta Davis versus Lomachenko. Why is this not being made?
Because they have to build up Lomachenko and Davis's record. They have to build up their record, though.
Lomachenko's not young.
He's not, but as long as they keep throwing trash his way to fight.
Damn, bro. You can't just call them cans like normal people. They gotta be trash.
Bums.
Ouch.
I mean, I think that's another interesting thing about boxing is, you know, those fights. Like, that you are, you know, you're just putting in front of yourself to pad the record.
Yeah, man.
That's crazy.
That
That's so
record
crazy.
padding stuff, dude.
Because I think that's that's a big thing I think boxing really needs to get away from, and I think that goes hand in hand with what I was talking about the UFC laying the blueprint. Is that, I mean, you got guys all the time that, you know, you got two top of the line prospects, and they're gonna fight each other to see who moves up. You know what I mean? Like,
and I think that's a Floyd effect too,
as
far as the undefeated record.
That is true.
Because once you have that loss, it just kind of takes the steam out of your...
Yeah. It puts a smudge on you. You know what I'm saying? You're not as pristine. You're not as clean.
But I think... I agree with you, but is that more of a fan thing? Or is that... You know what I'm saying? Like, is that coming from the fans? Is that coming from us? Or is that coming from...
I'm more looking at it as that's how it is. That's just how it goes in boxing. Okay. They build your record up. They don't really want you to have too many threats. And I think the fans kind of take a hit with that. Yeah. But to kind of close out this segment, to touch back on Floyd's branding, you know the crazy thing about Floyd is, I know when I first knew who he was, I looked up to see if he had a Nike contract, Adidas, or anything of that nature, and he didn't. Yeah. And I thought that was so crazy, but at the same time, that's some self-made shit. Mm-hmm. Like, that's some being your own man type shit.
Yeah, I mean,
and I thought that was very impressive.
Yeah, he did it on his own.
Yeah.
And he built his own brand on his own. But yeah, I think people kind of forget that, you know, he was nobody till he was somebody. Everybody gets there at some point. But yeah, I don't know. I can't don't know. I can't speak that highly of him. I just can't. I mean, he was good for what he was, but after that, I don't know.
I feel it. All right, we about to get into the playoff preview. 2019 playoffs are officially underway. So we got Hawk joining us for this segment. I'm not even gonna waste time getting into it. The Nets and the Sixers faced off today, and the Nets walked away victorious.
Yes, they did. Very much so.
I can't say I'm surprised about it.
Me either. Not really, because Embiid was hurt. Plus, I think Brooklyn coming in with a lot of momentum.
Yeah.
And with Ben Simmons not being able to stretch the floor for them, it leaves them like weak on a certain side. So it's easy for Brooklyn to manipulate that, especially when you got a guy like Jared Allen who can switch off of guys and D up a guard as big as Ben Simmons as well as the center in Embiid. You know what I mean? So I think I like them for the series if they could snag another one after this home game. What y'all think about it?
So I'm not sure when Embiid is looking to get back. I'm not sure when they're looking to get Embiid back. If Embiid can come back sooner than later, then I think the Sixers have it wrapped up. But yeah, I mean, the Nets just pose a lot of matchup problems for the 76ers. And the 76ers just not a perfect team coming in.
The thing with them is, man, I think they lack. One thing they do lack for me is like the mentality that Jimmy has. Like I think all those guys are too cool for them to actually prosper. And in actuality, in my opinion, other than Embiid, I think Tobias is the second best player on that team. And I don't think that they highlight that. And I think that's part of their weakness.
You think Tobias here? I guess so, in the sense of skill wise, but
okay, so clearly Embiid and Ben Simmons are elite. Clearly, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm talking about night after night, every night, no matter who you're going against, he's giving you 18 and 5.
Right.
Tobias is.
Correct.
So for a guy like that, and you only got him for 1 year. Like after this year, you don't know if he's gonna come back, if he's gonna re-sign with LA, what he's gonna do. So this year you gotta maximize everything he's gonna give you, especially if you got Embiid out and then Ben Simmons can't shoot. I need Tobias Harris taking 25 shots a game minimum. And Brooklyn did not do that. I mean, Philly did not do that at all today. Jimmy had to carry him, and if Jimmy's carrying you, he's probably the fourth option. That's never okay.
Never. As good as Jimmy is, he's a defensive talent first and foremost. Offensive game never got polished.
Never.
So
the thing is, he always had a good group of guys surrounding him that could carry that load for him. Like he had Cat Wiggins, and then when he was in Chicago, he had Beck and Rondo and Wade. And then earlier than that, he was Ryan Rose, you know what I'm saying, for a minute. But if he doesn't have a premier offensive talent on his team, he doesn't play as well. And then in Philly, when you have guys who aren't sure of their role yet, and Embiid and Ben Simmons, those two are trying to figure out who the leader is, and then you got Tobias who's playing for a contract and solidification in the league. So for him, I don't like that mix, and I think we're gonna see him with Bron after this playoff run.
So let me ask you this: with the improvement of D'Angelo Russell, do you think the Nets have a chance to take this whole series from Philly if Embiid doesn't return?
Yes, because the Nets are young. Spry, their coach, is very good at development, as we can see. Nobody other than college basketball fans really knew who Jared Allen was coming out of the draft. And he's blocking LeBron, Giannis, James Harden, you name it. Great perimeter defender. Then you got Karis LeVert, who had that freak injury, but tonight he was a second leading scorer. I think he had 16 or 18 points, something along those lines. And then you got a young savage in D'Angelo Russell, who is just ready for the moment, who's just ready for any moment, any opponent, any matchup, anything. I think their fearlessness and honestly their lack of experience in the playoffs will propel them to beat the Sixers.
So
just off adrenaline and young talent.
What do you got it finishing out in?
I say Nets in 6.
Nets in 6. That's bold.
Because if they could get a win in either of these next two games, I can't see Philly building up that momentum.
Yeah, that's a fact. Like, if they can't get Embiid sooner than later, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap. That's their guy. That's Hakeem. You know what I mean? They need that.
If
They
Embiid
need
comes
that.
back, do you think Philly takes it to at least the Eastern Conference Finals, or do you think they get bounced before then?
Here's what I tell you. I tell you, nobody's going to the Eastern Conference Finals except the Bucks and the Celtics. Point blank, period.
Why do you think
And
that?
why do I think? Well, one of them Celtics fans, so I kind of,
Biased
Um,
motherfucker.
But just as far as, like, I think in the playoffs, a key thing is depth. And I think one thing that Philly and Toronto both lack is depth. And I think Boston and the Bucks have probably the two best squads on the team. I'm talking about from 1 to 12. I think 1 to 12, you put those rosters up against any of those guys in the East, I think Boston and the Bucks just reign supreme. Plus the year that Giannis is having and the year that Kyrie is having, they just, when it comes down to the wire, those guys are getting the ball and they're winning the games. I don't see that from any other team in the East. Even the Raptors, because Kyle Lowry is invisible when it becomes May. So
That is a fact. That's one thing I'll say that negates Toronto's chances of going far in the playoffs is Kyle Lowry. He has never proven himself in a playoff series.
And another thing we got to highlight is the fact that Kawhi is very reluctant on, saying he's going to stay or if he's not. Like, we just got a report yesterday that said that he's not sure if he's going to stay in Toronto. Now, I know, as a Boston fan, I know how this affects the locker room. And if there's uncertainty in any one of your teammates, it's never going to go well. And you could probably date back to high school sports. Like, if you had a quarterback on your team and you wasn't sure if he could really pass the ball, like, you're not really going to look for the ball as much. You're like, man, this motherfucker ain't going to get this shit off. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's a lot of that in Toronto right now, where it's like Kyle ain't going to show up, and we don't know if Kawhi's going to stay, and we don't know what the fuck the state of this franchise is. And Siakam's a gem, but we don't really know what he is as far as, like, his role on the team. Like, is he going to be a leader? Is he going to be a good glue guy? So it's a lot of uncertainty on that team, and I think Toronto's window closed once they traded DeRozan. Even though they got Kawhi, I think trading DeRozan was the closure of the window.
I can't see that being a closer because I mean you have Kawhi, you have all these other pieces. I think they're way better this year than they were last year, or the years that they had DeRozan.
They are, but the thing is, all that could separate because you got Kawhi that could possibly leave. You got Kyle Lowry who he may not leave, but I can't see Toronto still wanting him if he has a bad playoffs this year. I can't. Like, I can see him getting offloaded to the Grizzlies for a whole bunch of picks before I see Toronto letting him stay there and ruining their experiment with Kawhi. So it's very dependent. I shouldn't count Toronto all the way out, but it's very dependent on the performance of Kyle Lowry. And I think Kyle's performance will actually decide whether Kawhi stays or not, because that's his number two. If you don't got no faith in your number two, bro, Ibaka not going to do it for you. Sorry.
No, yeah, I don't think Toronto's even in the same category as half the teams in the East anyway. I really wouldn't put Toronto towards the top, even though they are, I think. But, I mean, I kind of agree with you, though. I think Milwaukee probably has the best chance to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, if not the Finals, because, I mean, let me touch on this, what you said earlier. Do you think Giannis is your MVP? Do you think he has a chance to win the whole thing?
He has a chance, but if we talking about who deserve it, bro, you gotta say Harden, man. And I hate the way Harden plays, but 36 points a game, that ain't no slouch, bro.
So, and you obviously know I disagree. And I think
you do?
Yeah, I definitely disagree. I think I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad if Harden got the award, but I think that Giannis, wire to wire, has been more consistent. Houston got off to a little slow start. Giannis is better defensively. He better affects the defensive side of the ball. Harden's not even top 50 as far as defensive rating goes.
No.
So it's just tough for me.
It's all about how you look at it, because for me, you know how I'm looking at it? When Chris Paul went down and they released Melo, you know who showed up. Granted, the slow start. I understand. I even had them making the playoffs after Chris Paul went down. But I think that you got to add in the resiliency factor. Like,
That's
I get
a
the
fact.
defensive thing. I think if we always gave the MVP to a two-way player, LeBron would have every one. We know that.
Right.
So, like, as far as, like, the defense argument, I get it. But, like, to me, I think resiliency is key. And the reason I give Harden a slight nudge on Giannis is because, let's be frank, the whole year the East has been like a question mark other than the Bucks and the Raptors. Like
That's
up
true.
until maybe about February is when the playoff picture really started shaping up. But Giannis ain't really he ain't really overcome shit. Harden had to deal with Melo leaving, who was his third option. Then Chris Paul went down for like 2 months, and he still managed to, I think, have him around 500%, if not slightly over during that period, which is impressive. If you include the fact that, remember, last year they lost Mbah Moute and they lost Trevor Ariza.
But I think that's a testament of Giannis's dominance throughout the whole season.
Is it a testament of his dominance or his roster as a whole? Because I feel like Giannis had a more solid roster than Harden, and Harden made fucking cupcakes out of fucking shit. So,
I mean, we can go there, but
no, we go all day. But the thing is, neither one of us is wrong because both guys are very deserving. Like,
that's a fact.
Right.
Giannis,
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Giannis playing on both sides is a major factor in what I would probably use as my vote. But the fact that this motherfucker Harden is averaging 35,
36,
got
bro.
that team out of 36, and then got them out of the mud. I can't not. You know what I mean?
I feel it.
Thank God I'm not voting. Thank God I'm not voting.
I guess after 08-09 when D Wade finished third in MVP voting, it made me look at the way the criteria for the MVP now. Because if you look at it, it's always who has the better record, and it's like the better team.
Right.
So I'm looking at who they would give the award to as opposed to maybe who I might think deserves it a little more.
Who they would, I would say they probably gonna lean towards Giannis because I think what the NBA is trying to do now is create a lot of stars. You know what I'm saying? So also when you give a guy like Giannis who's from a small market team the MVP, that boosts the visibility of that franchise, that city, and most importantly that player. And you can market that player as a marquee player, and it's more money for the league.
More money for the league, and it boosts the small markets, period.
Yeah, it does.
Exactly. So if you give it to Harden again, it's kind of like, you know what I'm saying? He deserves it. But I think if the league is doing, like, business, which is kind of what I think you're alluding to, like, kind of picking the best sports, like, the best spokesman for the league, like, best record, best team, you know what I mean, like you were saying. I think if they're going to go that route, it most likely might be Giannis. But this is one of the toughest ones. It's probably tougher than last year, honestly.
Yeah. So we just gonna go a little touch and go the rest of the series. As far as Raptors and Magic, what's your outlook on
4-0?
4-0? Sweet, get them out of here. I got you. And I'll go the same route. EDJ, what you got? Sweet.
Yeah, that's too easy.
Put them in the dustbin, throw them away.
That's too easy.
Yeah.
Orlando, no, not a chance.
Celtics and Pacers.
Yeah, we got them at 5.
You got them at 5. I would agree with 5. Pacers have been too resilient all year to go out in 4.
They're not gonna go out in 4 simply because they got good bigs. And if you notice about Boston, like we don't play well against good bigs. Like Sabonis and Miles Turner, like that's gonna be tough. They block shots, they get to the rebounds. It's gonna be a tough series. But I think all 5 games will come down to the wire. I think Boston got it in 4. I say Indy probably takes the first one because losing Marcus Smart is a big, big, big deal.
Yeah,
And I think Boston defensively is going to be kind of clueless until maybe game 2 or game 3. So I'll give Indy 1, and then after that, probably the clean sweep.
And one of the great trends for Boston right now is the fact that Gordon Hayward is playing great basketball for you guys.
Yep, that's our best facilitator. I told you that at the beginning of the season. Fuck with Kyrie. That's our best passers. That's our best offensive runners.
So since we're on the subject of Celtics, you posted to our WordPress page, "Let him walk for the children."
Yeah.
Talking about Kyrie.
Yep.
So what do you see that? Where do you see that going after the season?
All right. So here's my thing. I love Kyrie as a player. Like I wear this nigga's shoes. Like I fuck with Kyrie. But I think as far as for the growth of the franchise and the situation that we have now, where we have young studs and Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, we could possibly be ending up drafting a guy like that big from Gonzaga, the black guy who's Japanese as well, or we could get Bol. That core will never grow playing behind a Kyrie, Gordon Hayward, and possibly an Anthony Davis. You get what I'm saying? So while Kyrie is not necessarily detrimental to us right now, I think for the future, say if we sign him to a 5-year deal or 4 and out, I think that stunts the growth of both Brown, Tatum, and even guys like Smart. And, we got 4 lottery picks. I mean, 4 draft picks this year, 4 first-round picks. So those guys aren't going to be able to grow. They're going to be reserves. That's not good for a team that's we're rebuilding, but we're competing at the same time. We never really seen it before. And the Lakers tried to do it, but they fucked it up. They dropped the ball. But I think Kyrie is on some shit where he wants to be the guy. He wants to win championships. And that's fine, but I think for where Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are, it's not best for the growth of them.
I don't really think Kyrie really wants to be the guy anymore.
No, I don't either. I think he realized what the fuck it takes, and he was like, "Oh shit, I was wilding."
Yeah.
I had a movie. I won a championship. Thought I was the shit, but I can't lead a team, and that's fine because I don't think Kobe was necessarily a leader. I think motherfuckers just followed Kobe.
Fair. I agree with that.
And I think that's who Kyrie is. I think Kyrie thought he had to be, I'm the leader and I'm going to lead these guys. Nah, motherfucker, just ball the way you ball.
Yeah, just play.
Let motherfuckers eat the first and early second half. Go forward and do your thing. That's what we did with IT.
Right. So basically what you're saying is, before we get on to the next one, is that you'd rather see Boston build for the next 10 to 15 years instead of for the next, 3.
Most definitely.
Right.
Most definitely, because I feel like the future is brighter with the team built around Tatum than it is around Kyrie.
So Bucks and Pistons, what we got? What we got for Bucks and Pistons? I see that that should be a sweep.
That's a sweep.
Dustpan special.
I think Blake Griffin's out, so that's a sweep.
Oh yeah, that's not even.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the East settled. Now we're gonna head to the Western Conference. What's up? Let's get into the Nuggets and Spurs.
This was tricky, and here's why. I like the Nuggets. They had a great season. They spent most of the season in first. But you got a veteran coach in Popovich. You got veteran guys, DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge. Going against a team like that in a system like that, where you got a whole bunch of unexperienced players like Jokic, who's known to be soft and not really a good defender. You think LaMarcus Aldridge's not going to eat him for 4 games?
Yes, sir.
Who?
Yes, sir.
Then you got I like Jamal Murray and I like Gary Harris, but I don't think either of those guys are well defensively. And the Spurs have a pretty good lineup of wings. They got Rudy Gay, they got DeMar DeRozan, another guy. I wanted to say Kyle Anderson, but he on the Grizzlies. They got another guy that I like. So I just don't think none of these match up well. I feel like I'm being too wordy.
No, I think man, you good, bro. It's all right. We own this shit, so you can be as wordy as you want to, bro. But as far as the Spurs go, it just goes back to what you said. Popovich has been in this situation time and time again. Mm-hmm. He's tried and true, and I see the Spurs winning in 6.
And you know what's funny about the Spurs, bro? Whenever they do good shit, it's never their best team. You ever realize that?
Facts. It is always when you count them out.
Yup. Mm-hmm.
EDJ, who you
know
got?
That as a Heat fan.
Oh, we throwing big shots in this motherfucker. All right.
Yeah, this is probably one of the harder ones to pick because, Denver is such a younger team and a really talented team. It's probably one of those teams that's going to be one of the wave that attempts to knock the Warriors out at some point. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Spurs. I like Popovich. I like the Spurs team, and they're older, but they're experienced, and I can't see Denver being at that point yet where they're good enough to get a run in the playoffs. They're still too young and they're not experienced enough to beat a team like the Spurs just yet.
How many games?
6.
6?
6.
Spurs in 6?
5. I say 5.
5? All right.
Yeah.
Now this is a little bit tougher. Actually a lot tougher. Probably a lot tougher. We got Trailblazers and the Thunder. And I think they're deadlocked as far as matchups. And if you're in terms of star power of Russ and Paul George, I think that's a great. I think it's a great balance when you're looking at going against Donovan Mitchell and the defensive-oriented Utah Jazz. So I think it's going to be a tug of war.
Is OKC and Jazz or OKC and Trailblazers?
Oh yeah, you're right. Trailblazers. You got it. It's Trailblazers and Thunder.
Still good matchup wise.
Great matchup.
But let me. Oh, go ahead. My bad.
I got him confused with the Jazz, boy. I'm fucking up around here. But as far as the Trailblazers go, I'm gonna go with the Thunder simply because Russell Westbrook has that advantage over Lillard that LeBron had over KD earlier in his career.
Fair. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so this one's an interesting matchup because I think the peak of this matchup would have been if Nurkic was healthy.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
Nurkic not being healthy makes Steven Adams and all the other bigs an X factor because other than Nurkic, they don't really got no bigs. They got guys like Myers Leonard and Caleb Swanigan and even the other guy from Zach Collins.
I think you have Kenner off the bench though. That could fare nicely.
Oh yeah, but he don't play defense, so
that's fair.
The matchup may be good, but he won't do what he's supposed to do, and that's where that ends. Like I like the duel between Russ and Dame, and I like the fact that Paul George has a chance to step up as far as caliber because I don't think anybody on that team can hold him. So it's all on him to really just go off and then defer to Russ when he needs to.
Yeah. I mean, if Paul George shows up, I think Oklahoma City wins this series because I'm sure Westbrook's going to show up. I think he wants to see Kevin Durant at some point down the line.
Yeah.
So I would say probably Thunder, and I'd give him 6, Thunder and 6.
I say 6 too.
Yeah, same 6.
6. You're...
Nah, we ain't doing that 6.
No, I'm talking about the Mafia, bro. I'm talking about the Mafia.
I got you. All right. So, Rockets and Jazz, another intriguing series. You got the Rockets, who's basically leaning a lot on James Harden. That might be an understatement. And you have the Jazz, who's playing a great defensive system basketball. They got tried and true guys, tough guys, blue collar like Ingles, Crowder. So this was a tough one for me.
All right, here's my take on this one. I think Donovan Mitchell is going to look like a fool if he picks up Harden. And I think as well as the Jazz are defensively, I think D'Antonio got a trick up his sleeve, and I think he's just going to set Harden loose. And I think if they can't stop him, they won't stop none. Promise. I think Harden and Chris Paul both realize, like, if not this year or maybe next year, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
So this is the year. No holds barred. But in that series, I take the Rockets and I give them 6. Simply because of Gobert.
I kind of want to go against the grain here. I want to pick one upset, and I think it's going to be the Jazz over the Rockets. Simply due to the fact that I think you know who James Harden is, and as good of defensively as Utah is, I think they're going to find a way to hold him down. And Donovan Mitchell's, extremely talented. So I feel like this is going to be probably the longest series in the first round. Yeah. And I think Utah's going to take it in the last game, barely.
Yeah.
I'm with EDJ. I got Jazz taking it in 7. But here's the thing. I know this pick lies on the fact that Donovan Mitchell has to play consistent leader basketball.
He has to look like D-Wade. He has to look like D-Wade.
Exactly. And the one knock on Donovan Mitchell is that he plays erratic. There's times where he can score 30 in 30 shots, or he can give you 40 in 15 to 20 shots. It's a matter of what Donovan Mitchell we're going to get. If he can be great D-Wade with a shot, Donovan Mitchell sort of just taking it up a notch from what we've seen in the playoffs last year, I think Jazz can take it in 7.
You know why I feel bad for Donovan Mitchell? They never sent him a real good vet to Utah. And I think that's what he needs to understand how to control his game and how to pace himself. I think he needs a good guard vet that could teach him how to start and when to go. That's why, like, if like, say Miami didn't have those ties to Wade, you know, as emotional as they were, I think it would have been cool to let Wade, you know, I know Wade probably wouldn't want to go to Utah, but have Wade go there and mentor him for a season. I think that would have been really cool and very useful for him. Or even a guard like D Rose. You know what I mean? Something like that.
That would be nice.
Cool. Yeah. Yep.
So you got Rockets in 6, EDJ, and I got Jazz in 7.
Yep.
Warriors.
I'm writing this down because I want to tell y'all when I'm right.
Man, we'll play it back. If you write too much, we're gonna delete it though.
All right, cool.
All right, so last matchup we have the Warriors and Clippers. I don't think it's a debate on who's gonna take this series, but how competitive can it be?
Not very.
I don't think it'll be very competitive. I think we'll have a competitive first quarter, and then after that, you know, they'll realize where the fuck they at.
Another dustpan special.
Yeah.
Another dustpan special.
I can see the Clippers getting one, just because I think the Warriors probably will fall asleep a little bit in one of these games, because this is going to be really boring for them. I think they're just way more talented than the Clippers. I think it's going to be... so I'll give them 5 just because I think the Warriors have a tendency to fall asleep now and again in a quarter or two. So I'll give them in 5, but that's just being nice, I guess.
See, my thing with that is, any other year I would agree with you. But there's 2 things weighing in the balance. I think KD's determined to prove that he was the best thing that ever happened to the Warriors. I think Steph is determined to prove that he's actually a Finals MVP worthy player.
But couldn't that get in the way? Couldn't that get in the way of things, though?
Nah, and you know why? Because they both gonna get the ball anyway.
That's a fact.
Steph gonna get 30 shots if he want it. KD will get 30 shots if you want it. And I think when it comes down to the wire, it won't be, it's my ball, it's your ball. I think they both have the ego to be like, all right, this is the right play. You know what I mean?
That's a fact.
I really think, I think we're going to see an internal battle between Curry and KD this playoffs.
And you think it's going to work out in the best way possible for them?
I think they still win the championship. I think KD leaves, of course. But I think there's some ego in it because Steph has never won a Finals MVP.
Yeah.
And this guy comes to your team and he gets 2 Finals MVPs and yours got stolen by your 6th man.
Boy.
Now KD wants to leave there, but he doesn't want to leave like, they gave me those championships. He wants to be, I was the best player on that team. 3 Finals MVPs will show you that.
So is that a knock on Curry's legacy that he doesn't get a Finals MVP if he doesn't get a Finals MVP?
If he never gets a Finals MVP, I won't knock him, but I know the media will because it means something to them. But Finals MVP is kind of contingent on matchup and series. You know what I mean? Like, if all right, so say Steph Curry is playing in the finals against Gary Payton, and then KD getting guarded by Sean Kemp. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Who do you think is going to win Finals MVP?
KD for sure.
It's contingent. That's why I don't really like it.
I feel it. I'm going to knock that nigga, though. Regardless, I'm going to knock that nigga. If you don't win a Finals MVP, I'm knocking that nigga. Because if LeBron doesn't win a Finals MVP any year,
that's a fact.
He's going to get criticized for it.
That's a fact.
But, man, we appreciate having you on. This is probably the first time we really discussed. Uh-oh. You about to do it?
One question for me. I need you to answer one question, bro. One question.
Let's go.
How the fuck do you have the highest payroll in the NBA and you missed the playoffs and let the Magic and Pistons slide in?
Can Pat not fuck up?
Huh?
Pat can't fuck up?
Who can't fuck up?
Pat. Pat not allowed to fuck up?
No. You know why? Because Pat missed out on Gordon Hayward. Y'all motherfuckers thought y'all get him. He missed out on the Blake trade. And then I don't blame y'all for Chris Bosh, but I do blame y'all for bringing D-Wade back. I know that's harsh.
What you mean you blame us for bringing D-Wade back?
He came back on a discount deal that was smart. But I think this was the year where you were supposed to let Josh Richardson and Winslow just go.
We can let them
And
go
not
next
really
year. They clearly wasn't ready because D-Wade gave them every opportunity to go. Here you go. Win the game for us. Josh Richardson fumbled it time and time again. Winslow, go for us. Winslow showed growth, but he's not there yet. Then you couple that with the fact that our best player only played 36 games with Dragic, who has been our best player, has only played 36 games. It's gonna look a little yikes.
What about Whiteside though?
What about him?
25 million.
Keep that nigga another bad pack fuck up. This whole roster, aside from Justice Winslow, Bam, and Josh Richardson, is a fuck up. It's a pat fuck up. How do you pay James Johnson, Deion Waiters, and all those guys that money?
I was going there, bro. I'm gonna be real with you. My point wasn't to really ask you that question. My point was for you to explain why the Heat are fucking trash and why Pat Riley needs to go.
Pat Riley doesn't need to go. Pat Riley doesn't need to go, but there's definitely some fuck ups.
But I will say this. As far as potential with Bam, Winslow, and Richardson, I think you could build around that and snag some stars if you could get Whiteside the fuck out of there.
Yes, I'm with you.
Space.
Heat Nation agrees with you.
To like $14 million a year. Like, what the fuck was that?
A lot of fuck ups, man. But you saying a lot from somebody we ain't seen win in about 10, 11 years, though.
You said what?
You saying a lot for a fan of a team we ain't seen win in like 10, 11 years. That's all I'm saying.
And that's fine because the team that won after that was built to stop my team. And you know what else is fine? My team is in the playoffs as we speak, and they're looking like they're going to the finals. So it's fine, Randy. It's fine.
Going to the finals, winning the finals.
I don't know if we win it. I ain't say that. I said we going.
That's what I'm saying. Going to the finals, winning the finals. I'd rather win.
Mean, shit, y'all won twice, and then y'all lost to the Spurs, and then y'all lost. Who else
but we won.
Oh, the white ass. Y'all lost to the Spurs one year.
Yeah, but we won championships.
Yeah, we won one.
Yeah, one is cool. we gonna cut Hawk off, man. We appreciate having you on the show.
No, thank you for having me, bro.
Oh yeah, no doubt, man. We look forward to having you on. Oh yeah. Yes, sir. All right, man. Take it easy. Showbanks out.
I appreciate this opportunity.
Yes, sir.
All right, now we got another segment of True or False this week. We're going to get into 5 different topics and debate if they are true or false. All right, first things first, we're going to get right into a little bit of a debate about Kansas City Chiefs running backs. This week I've seen a lot of push for Jamal Charles to be a Hall of Famer from Chiefs Kingdom on Twitter. So basically the statement is Jamal Charles is a Hall of Famer. True or false?
False. Simply because he didn't play long enough. And not that he isn't a good running back and shouldn't be considered one of the better running backs. He just didn't play long enough to be considered one of the greatest of all time. I know he had that that record against Jim Brown for most yards per carry. And that's great in his own right, but when he's healthy, and if he stays healthy like that, he's probably top 3 all time. But since he got injured twice and it just kind of ruined his career, and ever since then he wasn't as good. I know injuries, especially to running backs like the ACL and Achilles, are basically death sentences for their career. But he just wasn't the same guy. And if he stays healthy for 2 or 3 more years, you can put him in that conversation. But ever since those injuries, you can't really put him in that conversation from that aspect.
I mean, I think that's fair. I personally don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
Nah.
I say false.
Nah, Canton Hall of Fame? Nah, but Ring of Honor, yeah, he'll definitely.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, definitely a Chiefs Hall of Famer, I would say.
But yeah.
Randy,
false.
what you got? True or false?
I'm gonna go false. It saddens me to say that because Jamal Charles is the Chiefs' best running back of all time. Maybe not the favorite. Priest Holmes is my favorite. But as far as the best Chiefs running back of all time, Jamal Charles is that.
Yeah, we were having a little bit of a debate before we started recording, and after thinking about Matt Castle being his quarterback, I kind of agree with that. This man had shit for a quarterback. And, I mean, he was the only person on offense. At the end of the day, really. I mean, I guess if you want to count Dwayne Bowe, but...
Well, I mean, if we're going to compare quarterbacks towards the middle of Larry Johnson's Chiefs career, he didn't really have that great of quarterbacks either.
That's true.
So if you want to put quarterbacks in the conversation, then Larry Johnson is next to Jamal Charles, which I don't think is true. Larry Johnson is probably...
Also debatable, though, because Larry Johnson spent a lot of time with Priest Holmes being his...
Well, he did, but he also took over at some point.
That's true. That's very true.
And then he made his own path. And then
Yeah.
he got paid and decided to get... He didn't like to get hit anymore and got tackled every half yard and a half.
He quit after he
Yeah.
got paid, plain and simple. But...
I mean, I don't know. I think Priest Holmes is number one.
For the Chiefs
For
all
the
time.
Chiefs all
Yeah.
time, yeah. And I was reading something today on, it was like the NFL Snapchat, and they put him at like number 6 all time for best undrafted player.
Priest?
Yeah, Priest.
Oh, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
he's one of the best undrafted players of all time, I would say.
So it's hard to put him under Jamal Charles. But I mean, really though, or if we're going to get in perspective here, if Kareem Hunt didn't do what he got caught in the video, he's probably taking over all 3 of those spots at some point.
That is a fact for me. I completely agree.
It's kind of hard to put those 3 guys in that order because Kareem Hunt is going to take over all those spots if that video doesn't surface.
All right.
So is Priest Holmes a Hall of Famer?
No.
Not
he
yet.
is on
He's a
the,
Chiefs-
Yeah, he's a
yeah,
Chiefs
Chiefs
Hall of
famer.
Famer and on the Ring of Fame at Arrowhead.
So not a Hall of Famer.
But he's not a Hall of Famer.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
And I mean, really, when you look at both of them side by side, Priest Holmes, you know what? I didn't think about this until I just looked it up. Priest Holmes has a ring.
Yeah, for the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In 2000 as
8,000 rushing yards. Only 1,000
He
more
has more rushing yards than Jamal Charles. Jamal Charles has 7,000.
for the Chiefs. I didn't see how many he had total, but
7,000.
7,000?
Yeah, 7,000 something.
On par, yeah.
So, I mean, Priest Holmes has the better numbers than when you...
How
take
many more
into-
years did Priest Holmes play than Jamal Charles, though?
When you take into account the... I'll get to that in just a second. When you take into account the Pro Bowls, it's 3 for Holmes, 4 for Charles. And then Jamal Charles led the NFL in rushing touchdowns. I want to say 2013. And Priest Holmes led the NFL in rushing touchdowns 2002, 2003, as well as leading the NFL in rushing yards in 2001. He played... Priest Holmes did play 11 seasons compared to 11 seasons. So we're looking at the exact same time frame. And both with severe injuries that kept them out of game time. So I think at the end of the day, after looking at the numbers...
Priest Holmes did more.
Priest Holmes did do more, yeah.
So, I mean, it's all about who you like from that aspect if you don't put in the stats.
That is kind of true.
I mean, they're 2 different runners. That's for sure. And 2 different athletes in general. Because Priest Holmes was, I think, a better out-of-the-backfield catcher than Jamal Charles was.
No!
I think the other way.
No?
I don't know.
Really?
But also, you got to think about it, though, because at the same time, like, they both were in somewhat of the same system. Because when Priest Holmes came, I mean, look at the offensive line he had in front of him. Trent Green, that was more of a short route thrower, and they loved the screen. That was, like, the number one play that the Chiefs ran around that time. So... it's debatable. It is very debatable between both of them who is. But at the end of the day, I kind of disagree with what you're saying. I think they're almost the same back. And then, not to mention, they both come from Texas.
Same back in what regards? Because I
Their
think Priest...
whole play style, I think.
I think Priest was way more physical.
Yeah. Jamal Charles.
Way
That
more
is true.
physical.
That is true. But just the way that they got things done, I think that they're about the same.
Well,
About the same back.
I think it goes back to what you made. Their game plan was similar.
Right.
So I think that's why you would look at them as similar running backs.
Right.
Because they played the same way.
A lot of screenplay.
Right.
A
Well,
lot
I think Charles came in an era too early.
Yeah, he did.
I think if he came
for sure.
in this era, Because he basically laid the blueprint for Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
If we're being totally honest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did. And I mean, he didn't have the tight ends like Travis Kelce or Tony Gonzalez. Priest Holmes had Tony Gonzalez.
Right.
But, you know, he was stuck in that era where their tight end was Tony Moyaki.
Moyaki, and he barely stayed on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true.
And the quarterbacks for Jamal Charles were who? Matt
But
Castle?
even then, back to what you said about the Alvin Kamara thing, I mean, Priest Holmes was doing that before.
Yeah.
What's that?
Catching the ball and coming out of the backfield catching the football.
He was, but was it to the level that Jamal Charles was doing it?
Yeah.
I don't.
The Chiefs were known for the screenplay. Like
I understand, but I'm just from a skill perspective. I think Jamal Charles had more of receiving skill than Priest Holmes did.
I think you're right out in space and route running wise because I mean Priest Holmes at the end of the day was the screenplay that was going to kill you. He wasn't going to go out and run a 15-yard route or something like that. So I do kind of agree with you there, but at the same time I think that Priest laid the blueprint for Jamal Charles.
Here for Kansas City.
I think in general because at the end of the day, I mean, I think the Chiefs are a big part of why the screenplay was as big as it was. I mean, the Chiefs were a big part of that and a big part of making, teams realize, shit, I can just have my running back curl out to the side and toss it to him and have the O-line go block for him and it be a pass. I mean,
but I think he lasted longer because of his physical nature. Because he was more of a physical back than Jamal Charles. Like I said, I think Charles just came in an era too early and it cost him years of his career.
Yeah. That's true. And not to mention, in that time period, that's really all the Chiefs had.
Yeah.
And the ball off to Jamal Charles. Yeah. I mean, you had a lot of, like you said, you had Tony Gonzalez with Priest Holmes. You had that great offensive line to protect Trent Green. You had good role players that, were going to catch the ball when they needed to. And guys like Eddie Kennison and, you had a deep threat in Dante Hall.
Yeah.
I mean...
Well, it's fairly similar because I did this on a podcast last year before the season started this year. It's very similar to the 03 offense that what is now.
Yeah.
When Kareem Hunt was there. It's obviously a little different now, but it's still very similar. The amount of points they can score and the amount of which they can do it and how quickly they can do it. It's very similar. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is a way better quarterback than Trent Green was, but it's still very similar.
So we got all flosses for Jamal Charles.
Being a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, being Hall of Famer.
Clean across the board.
Okay. Moving on to Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods winning the Masters is the biggest moment of 2019 if he were to win the Masters.
Would it be the biggest sports moment?
Yeah, of 2019.
I'm going to go with true. I can't think of a scenario from any... Only other scenario I could think of, and I'm not sure... Only other scenario I can think of is if the Browns were to go win the Super Bowl.
Or if the Warriors somehow get beat this year.
I don't even think that, though, because I think a lot of people think they're going to get beat.
Well, you can think they're going to get beat, but will they get beat is the better question.
When's the last time Tiger won the Masters?
2008.
Damn. 11 years?
Yeah, that's an 11-year.
Yeah.
Not to mention how many people root for Tiger. That makes up a good 90% of golf fans. Or the casual golf watcher. Is more than likely 90% you're probably going to be rooting for Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
I can't think of any scenario that would trump Tiger winning a major, especially in the major drought that he has had.
Right.
I just don't see it.
I'll go with, I know it's either true or false, but I'll go with in the middle. Just because there's...
You really pussyfooting around today, EDJ.
Hey, it's all right. Ray went in the middle on one last week, so...
Yeah.
But it's hard, though, because, I mean, golf isn't the main sport.
Sure
So-
the fuck isn't.
So,
But Tiger is the main player.
Well, yeah, he's the main player, but he's the main player in a sport that's not mainstream.
But Tiger is mainstream.
But it's
There's not too many athletes you can place above Tiger.
In 2019...
With his draw. I'm saying with his draw, there's not... You got LeBron James. Help me out, guys.
Kevin Durant, Steph Curry.
KD? Yeah.
If LeBron's name isn't there, you're talking about Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, James Harden. I mean,
Harden, no.
You don't think Harden?
Draw.
We're just talking
draw.
about draw within. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you, but at the same time, I disagree because of golf. At the end of the day, I mean,
Tiger is bigger than golf, guys.
I get that. I'm not saying that, but
You're all alone.
I totally see what you're saying because I agree with you that Tiger is bigger than golf. But at the end of the day, how many people are going to tune in just because of Tiger? I don't think that's a huge.
This is the whole thing. It's going to be big for probably about 2 months, and then we're going to move on to the next thing.
But even tuning in, I'll watch the highlights. I'm not tuning in.
That's what
I'm
I'm
not
saying.
watching.
You're not, but there's millions of more people that's gonna tune in.
I don't think there's as many
If you're
people
on
as you
if you're
think there
talking
is.
about being on the back nine of the Masters and Tiger is at the lead or within a stroke of the lead, millions of people are going to be tuning in to watch that.
It'll cut to it. It'll cut to it to see if
Right.
he does it. But I mean that'll be it.
But yeah, are you going off of like, yeah,
But
changing the channel for a minute to watch Tiger, or are you?
Don't people change the channel for a minute if the Super Bowl is good? I mean, ultimately people watch the Super Bowl, but
Yeah,
if
I
it's-
don't think there's a comparison there.
I'm not saying NFL to golf, but I'm saying the Masters is a big deal.
No, but I'm just saying from your perspective, are you talking about just flipping the channel for a few minutes to see Tiger, or do you mean literally tuning in to watch the Masters? And even if it's just the back nine, I'm just asking where you're coming from on that.
Just watching in general, watching Tiger in general. I think if he's on the back, that's when most people watch it anyway.
Right.
So I think if he's on the back nine and they're in the playoffs and he's within a stroke of the lead or has a chance to win, millions of people are tuning in to watch it.
I agree with you on that. I mean, I agree.
Okay.
And sorry to cut you off, EDJ, but if we're talking about just like Rowdy Ray said, we're gonna be on it for 2 weeks. How long were we on the Super Bowl? Not very long. This past Super Bowl, not very long.
Yeah, and it really was.
So we're talking about how big of a story is the event in the first place, right? Because Patriots and Rams wasn't really a great game. It wasn't really captivating for the audience. If Tiger wins a Master after 11 years, you're talking about the most ultimate captivating thing to happen in sports. Whether you like golf or not, you're like, yeah, that's dope. Tiger won.
Yeah, you know what? You got me. I'm gonna say true.
It'll win an ESPY. We'll put it that way. It'll win an ESPY. It will. If he wins, he'll
All
win.
facts.
He'll win like what comeback player or whatever. I want to say false because not enough has happened yet to say it'll be true. I think we'll probably see something bigger at some point, but it'll be up there. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with false.
False?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna go a hard false.
Or false.
Why? Why again? What was your reason?
Why? Just fuck golf. That's
So you're being a troll and not putting in my base on anything.
I mean,
so we're gonna
I'm
go
just
to the
saying.
next.
I'm really arguing with a black man about golf. What has this come to? This is a new America.
Okay, moving on. Athletes suffering is not entertainment. True.
Yo, keep that in, please, because, bruh, it's just the way you read the shit.
True or false?
Athletes suffer.
True or false? True or false? No, but like injuries, anything like that. Is that for your entertainment?
What
or
is the
that not
basis of
entertainment?
this question?
Okay.
What's the background? Where is
So-
this coming from?
This is coming from a little article that we posted on our Twitter that I was looking at earlier with an Auburn gymnast that suffered a knee injury, and she wants that people stop circulating the video, saying that, you know, my pain is not for your entertainment.
So, the actual injury itself, no, that's not for our entertainment. But I think we're looking at the bigger picture. Is athletes suffering our entertainment? And that's true. For me, that's definitely true.
Very true.
Yeah. And then her name was Samantha Serio, I'm pretty sure.
And you said she's collegiate, right?
Collegiate, yeah. Auburn gymnast.
Which really sucks in her case because she'll get no monetary gain off of it. But
right.
for broadly speaking, most athletes, yes, their suffering is my entertainment for the work for better or worse.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they step out there every time a little dinged up, slightly injured, and they're putting themselves at serious risk of injury for my entertainment.
I mean, it just kind of seems like she's trying to get a little more attention out of it. Because, I mean, if LeBron came out with a groin injury and said, my pain is not for your enjoyment, that's stupid.
I'll be calling that man all types
exactly,
of bitches.
exactly.
Right.
It's
Just to put it plainly.
exactly. It's literally you're an athlete. You're gonna get hurt, especially a gymnast. You're gonna
Yeah.
get hurt, and probably pretty severely. So it's just kind of her in a way to keep herself relevant in her own story. It is too bad and it is unfortunate. I'm not knocking her injury by any means, but it's yes, you're gonna get injured, and yes, we enjoy watching the game that you were injured in. Do we enjoy seeing you get injured? No.
Exactly.
I mean, I've seen Derek Johnson literally sit down on the ground twice, and I knew exactly what happened to him. You know, and it sucked to watch him get injured, but I kept watching the game because it was entertaining.
Okay, but what about injuries that we watch over and over and over?
It's a learning. You learn from it. I mean, what was that guy's name from Louisville that literally
Kevin
had
Ware?
Yeah, I was
Kevin-
just
yeah.
about to say that. Yeah, because then they started improving like the floorboards and all that for the
Oh,
hardwood.
yeah, and
But he's saying,
good
like,
things can
when it
happen, but
happens, the
what about-
video, like, what
yeah.
when we play it over
What about
and
Joe
over?
Theismann? What about Anderson Silva?
Willie
what about
McGahee.
exactly? What about these moments that we're gonna watch over and over and over and over? I say true. I mean, that's for my entertainment. If I want to go watch Anderson Silva break his leg
Ooh.
37 times in a row, I should be able to go do that. If I go by Fight Pass, I can go do that.
And how many times did they play that during? Because we watched it live,
Exactly.
and how they
And
played
then they
that
constantly kept
over
playing
and
it.
over and over.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just part of being an athlete.
Yep.
Exactly.
It's a little thing I like to call charging into the game.
Facts.
Factoid.
Facts.
Yes,
Because, I mean, just like I was saying before, like, if I would have got slept in my fight, there's a video of me getting knocked
Oh,
the
we'd all
fuck
have it
out.
on our phones.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
That would have been the highlight.
And that sucks.
I'm
That
just being
sucks.
real about
But
it.
you know what I mean? At the end of the day, like, I signed up for that fight. I went out there and did it, and I got knocked out. I got to deal
Anytime
with
you'd feel big about something, hold on one second. Here we
it.
go.
Exactly. Exactly. That's just something I'd have to deal with. That's okay.
Exactly. And then she should just take that as a learning curve. Like, oh, well, you know, sometimes you get humbled. And it may not be, you know, what you think is right, but fuck, it happened. It's
But
gonna
Rowdy
be-
Ray, everybody wants to have a TED Talk.
Well, shit, she's got a platform. Use that motherfucker now.
Exactly.
She's got one now. We know her name because before
But
this, we know her name.
maybe for her, it's the sport and the culture behind being a gymnast. Because you got to think, when they're practicing for Olympic trials or whatever, it's grueling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They go through a grueling process.
Well,
So maybe she's hinting at maybe some of the abuse and unnecessary tactics they go through as far as training. Maybe
I
say
think she
this.
could have. Go.
No, go ahead,
Okay.
EJ. I was stepping on you.
I think she could have spun it a different way if that's what she was going with.
Right.
You know, I mean,
And it also may have just been the article too,
Right.
because you
That
know
too.
her statement
Yeah.
was she didn't want the video being circulated
Circulated.
anymore. Which at the end of the day too, I also
You wouldn't
understand if I
want
would
it.
have, if Anderson Silva probably has a really hard time watching that clip of him kicking Weidman and breaking his
Damn
leg,
right.
you know. So I mean, I do understand that to a point, but at the same time, I feel like to say, you know, don't watch that is kind of silly.
yeah, it's already out there. Sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially the world we live in 2019.
And then
Like,
to-
everything's a fucking gift.
For real.
Like,
And then to kind of like, you know, go off of what Randy was saying, what sport isn't grueling? You know what
That's
I'm saying?
very
And
true.
I understand there are, you know, varying degrees
There's
of
levels to the
difficulty.
shit.
Yeah, there is levels to the shit. But at the end of the day, like, you're going to pay, you know, the iron tax, you know, blood, sweat, tears.
So let me ask you. So since gymnasts is relatively women-dominated sports, they make the headlines as far as being a gymnast is concerned. Is there a double standard within that? Maybe do we care about their grueling tactics and culture behind that more because they're women, as opposed to the rest of the sports world because they're men?
And maybe that
Does
could
that
be the
pop
angle,
up?
that could be the angle she's kind of, you know, shooting for.
No,
like,
but I'm saying, what do you think? Do you see a double standard there? Is there a double standard? Like, is there, or do we care about not the abuse, but the grueling nature of their training because they're women, as opposed to the grueling training that men go through?
I'll say for myself,
Huh?
no.
Okay.
Like I don't see any difference because I watch women MMA fighters and they have to go through the same type of camps as a male would, and there's no difference. They they train hard, they sweat, cry, bleed, the whole shebang. So I don't see any difference. Maybe the average American does, like maybe women shouldn't be putting themselves through that these little dainty figures. She knew what she was doing. This is what she likes.
She signed up for it.
Exactly. Right. She enjoys the sport.
Right.
There's no reason to pursue it at a collegiate level, which is just a step below basically the pro level. There's no point pursuing that if this isn't what you really want.
Yeah, I agree with you, Roddy. Right. So that is a big false for everybody, right?
Across the board.
All right. So moving on to robots will take over sports.
Ain't nobody gonna have a job in 20 years.
Nobody
is safe.
So
safe.
The thing I seen on this was I guess Toyota Motor Corp's robot called Q3. It computes as a 3-dimensional image where the basket is using sensors on its torso, and it adjusts motors inside its arms and knees to give the shot the right angle and propulsion for a swish.
That's a real fancy way of saying flick of the wrist.
Yes. And I watched the video. He basically nailed a 3 from half court. Crazy. Steph Curry bot.
Yeah.
So I think with as fantasy crazy as we become in sports, and robots can't, like, if they were to make the robots advanced enough, I don't think there would be minimum injury. So I think robots can take over a sport.
So you got
not necessarily sports, but a sport. So I got true.
Well, hold on. What's the question? Will they or can they?
Well, it's true or
robots
false.
will take over sports.
Will take over.
So I got true.
I'm gonna go with a nice hard false for the simple fact. Just trying to sustain something like that seems to be way less cost effective than having live humans. You get what I'm saying? Because I feel like that type of technology would be astronomically high. Then you would have to have software managers, maintenance. You know what I'm saying? Which you could. I feel like you would come out cheaper in the end with live human players and a couple trainers on staff.
But then what about all of the huge contracts? You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, that's what I'm
yeah.
factoring in, because I'm thinking of that too. Like, you've got a full staff to pay for a team, and then these ginormous contracts.
Because at the end of the day, you're not gonna have to.
You won't have to pay these robots, but that upfront fee, I don't think any of these owners would be willing to pony up that money up front.
But see, I don't think the league would consist of traditional owners. I'm thinking more engineers. Like, you have your best engineers come out and craft these robots, like your Elon Musk, and I don't know anybody.
So people from MIT,
yes,
Ivy League schools. Oh,
yes,
that's an interesting take on it. I don't know if they would be able to have the grant money to do something of that magnitude.
All that money them colleges got.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
That's true. That's for them.
The government would have it though. Let me put on my tinfoil hat real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I gotta go with false. I mean, just what sport are they gonna take over? I mean, other than hockey.
That's what I wanted to ask you guys though. What sport would you think they would take over?
Hockey, I guess, because I mean, at some point, I feel like people are gonna find hockey too barbaric, and because we're kind of heading toward that direction anyway.
Yeah.
So for maybe hockey, I mean, just because it's a simple game of slamming people against the wall. So I could see that being the sport that they would take over, but at the same time, it's way more money than I think anyone would be willing to spend. And you can financially find a way to pay people a lot of money, especially in the world of sports that makes billions and billions and billions of dollars every year. So that's not really the issue that would run out of hand at some point. I don't think there would be any draw to it. And I think they're like that show, Robot Battle from sci-fi, where people would just literally build robots that would saw the other robots. That's entertaining, but it's not a sport. It's just entertaining.
A lot of people look at it as a sport.
I mean,
Also that too.
Gaming is a sport.
Yeah. Also, that's actually brings up an interesting point. Is it even sport if it's not If it's a robot?
If they're playing football, it's a sport. If they're playing whatever sport, if they're playing a sport.
Just to kind of throw this in there too, I think a sport that they could probably take over relatively quickly would be like tennis.
I think golf.
Definitely golf.
I think golf because you already have the handheld caddy where you can program the course to it and distance from and all that good stuff.
Because look, it would be low cost, especially on the golf or the tennis front, because you only need 2 as opposed to what is it, 52-man roster
for
football?
The NFL? Yeah. Well, I mean, you wouldn't need a 52-man roster, really, would you?
You would probably need at least 25.
But then also you think about in contact sports, would they be able to hold up,
Yeah, and that's the main thing, because that's what I'm factoring in. I'm thinking of maintenance, constant, cost of new parts and whatnot.
And we're assuming that they have actual normal human functions, right? And they can run like humans and they can throw like humans.
Well, I mean, it would take 10 to 20 years.
Yeah, that's true, because I was just about to say the robot we saw stand stationary.
Yeah, he couldn't dribble or nothing like that.
Yeah, especially in the NFL, what are we going to be with robots? I think that we would also watch, it would have to be an evolution just like humans playing the game. Because, I mean, look at how the game was played in 1920 or 19 whatever.
Yeah, the 1940s.
Exactly. So compare that to a robot just now, getting some real momentum, real legs underneath them. I'm gonna say false. I don't think robots will ever take over sports, and I wouldn't want to watch that. Why? I don't give a fuck about. It could be 11-on-11 football. I don't care if it's a bunch of robots. I do not care about any of these robots. They're not people. There's no story behind them. There's so much more. You're not gonna get, Randy, you're a huge D Wade fan. You're not gonna get behind a fucking robot the way you're behind D Wade or any other athlete that you may be tied to in general. You're not gonna get that from these robots. I mean, what you're gonna get? Oh, this robot 72 built from MIT, finished his 7-year career off of
if his parts was made here in Kansas City, I'll probably get behind him. I'm gonna keep it a whole village.
I mean, I feel you. Okay.
See?
Okay.
There goes the case.
I mean, I feel you, but at the same time, I'm not gonna get behind it like a local high school kid that came up through the ranks and is playing with, whatever said team.
My bad. But I think the biggest draw of it would be the man versus machine element.
Now, that would be interesting. Well, that was something that I want to bring up is, would robots ever actually take over, you could say, the NFL is still going to be the NFL in 50 years, I think. But could you also have a robot league on top of that? You know what I'm saying? What would it take to integrate, or would robots ever take over, robots playing in the NFL, the NBA, the NHL?
No. I don't think that would happen. I think it would have to be a sub league.
Yeah.
A sub little.
I think the only time you could actually do it is if it was a non-contact sport. So, i.e., golf or tennis.
And having
because then,
one-on-one.
Then you could definitely have a man versus the machine on
basketball.
Tennis. There's varying points of contact.
Hey, bro.
I mean, barely.
Knee bruises, bro, in basketball.
Bro,
you gonna knee bruise a robot?
Bro, take a hard shot.
If he touch you, it's a foul.
So here is Levi being a hater. I mean, Papa's shoulder. He's being a hater.
But
I mean, what am I hating on?
And you gonna drive on a robot? I'm not.
Exactly. The robot gotta back up. Robot can't just stand there or it's a foul.
It's a lot more. See.
Good thing is you can pop the trunk on a robot when he hard foul you. Next topic.
All right. So our last one for true or false: boxers are held higher than MMA fighters.
Big true.
Yep.
And I think it goes back to the same way there are baseball purists and traditionalists. There are boxing purists and traditionalists, and it gets held, and as a result, it gets held in a high regard. MMA, UFC, it's relatively new still, and so I don't think it's garnered that same respect that boxing has had over the years.
Well, MMA is literally as old as us, 25 years old.
Yep. The UFC
93.
is literally our age.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time for little bro to get respect.
Yeah, that's facts. I totally agree. This is definitely a true statement. At the end of the day, though, I think it's really, it's kind of silly, because I think MMA fighters definitely, you've got all the tools compared to a boxer that just knows one tool, on the realm of fighting. So I think definitely when you look at, if you're taking a heavyweight fighter versus a heavyweight boxer, I mean, in any realm of combat, as in like on the street or anything like that, I'm taking the MMA fighter 10 out of 10 times.
But yeah, no, I really agree with what you're saying. As in, I would definitely rather take the MMA fighter over the boxer. And I think 20, 30 years down the line, we're going to have a completely different opinion about it. We're going to say, oh, the greatest, heavyweight MMA, mixed martial artist of all time is going to beat the shit out of the greatest boxing heavyweight of all time. And, everybody will know that as an undisputable fact.
In terms of them being able to use all of their skills and the boxer being only able to use their skills.
Yeah,
all you got to do is take them down.
Yeah, because the boxer is so limited. You know what I'm saying? They're just great with, one aspect of, the full spectrum of MMA. You know what I'm saying?
And this is without the boxer being able to train in the MMA, or how does that?
Right now,
it's just kind of like, it's low key like on some like, what if a tiger fought a bear type shit.
Right,
you know what I'm
right.
saying?
And even, I don't know, even then it's still, but I think definitely it's true just to go off of, look at Conor McGregor. He had to go to boxing to get his big payday.
Yep.
So just off that,
Yep. It still goes to show how, who still, runs the roost.
I think it's true, but I think it's trending in the other direction. I think we'll get to a point where it's, the opposite. But I also feel like the UFC isn't as big as it was 10 years ago.
Really?
Just to me, it felt like...
Do you feel like the product is more watered down now?
No, I feel like more common people talked about the fights that happened the night before than they do now.
Really?
Nah, I completely disagree.
Well, hold on, because I feel like the bigger names were in their prime then.
Right.
So that may have something to do with it.
And with what we were talking about earlier about Floyd and boxing and how boxing is getting back to a point where we're seeing boxing on just regular TV and whatnot. I somewhat agree with you to that point, because at that time you've got Anderson Silva, you've got George St. Pierre, you've got huge
Chuck
names.
Liddell is still around
BJ
somewhere.
But at the same time, I think that's more of like a hardcore fan opinion.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's a lot more casuals now than there was.
Yeah,
10 years ago.
right, there are. And it has grown.
Right.
There's no doubt it has grown. But I think it was at its popular height peak of, did you see that?
Right.
During then, because there probably wasn't a fight we missed, and Applebee's used to play them all the time.
Right.
And then Applebee's stopped playing them because people would get in fights after the fights.
Fights at the fights.
Yeah.
It's always a fact. Plus, you know what though? I don't even think the UFC is even close to reaching its apex at this point. They still haven't found their guy to transcend the sport. You know what I'm saying? They thought they might have found it in Conor McGregor, but he has too many stains on him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's taking too many losses to, be the guy. So I think the guy is just somewhere out there in the wings, like, they're Michael Jordan, they're Tiger Woods. You know what I'm saying?
I 100% disagree with you with that.
I would think the guy is John Jones.
Well, but
no.
Conor McGregor has literally already transcended the sport, though.
Well, that too.
Kinda.
What do you mean, kind of?
Like, he
got a fucking boxing match with Floyd Mayweather.
He has, but I'm saying, like, the guy that's going to consistently
Floyd
keep the
Mayweather
sport.
transcended the sport.
Of what?
UFC.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yup.
Get the fuck out of here. That is 110% false.
Hold on. He's on to something. Because without that big boost from Floyd, what is Conor McGregor?
Whoever the top boxer would have been at that time around him.
I don't think so.
It wouldn't have had that same effect without Floyd.
Sure wouldn't have. Dog.
It ain't Floyd, though.
It ain't Floyd, though.
I don't know. I feel like that's debatable because you've got a personality like Conor that transcended MMA anyways. Everybody was learning who Conor was before the Floyd fight. That came in after the fact that he had reached his peak.
I think it's fair to say Conor used Floyd's blueprint, though.
Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Come on now.
Well, everybody copies. I mean, and then before that,
It basically goes to Ali.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, everybody copied after Ali, Ric Flair. I mean, the Ric Flair style. I mean, everybody knows that. But if we're going to give credit to where credit is due, I mean, MMA kind of transcended a lot of things. I mean, look at Ronda Rousey in the WWE. I mean, she's made a lot of money doing that. And I mean, she just came from UFC, and I think that's kind of polarized her as well. And even though she got knocked out horrendously twice, and it was extremely funny to watch.
48 seconds.
Especially her, especially her after fight interviews.
What fight interviews?
Well, yeah.
Shit.
But after, like, I mean, on the Ellen show when she cried.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's just
Shit, she cried on that one.
she cried.
Yeah.
Because Ellen brought up Holly Holm, and I think she showed the video to.
That's cold.
Be like a motherfucker.
That's cold.
He said, I got my ass beat like that? Hold up, that's me?
She really had to watch herself on the summer jail board, bro.
She probably
That's cold.
I mean, to be fair, she probably doesn't remember.
Well, she probably came out the cage and her coach told her she won.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
Edwards was so far up, hit her ass.
Oh, Jesus. That was part of the downfall of her career.
That literally.
But I think EDJ brings up a good point with that, because I think that MMA is big enough at this point that anybody that becomes a big enough star can transcend the sport. Because, like he said, Ronda, I mean, even after those 2 huge losses, I mean, she's doing just fine for herself in WWE, and people are still talking about her.
But she had to go somewhere else. Her run was kind of short to me.
That
she
is
got
true.
on top.
But they still knew the name.
That proves the point. She's transcending the sport.
But so does longevity not count in UFC?
That's kind of where I'm at, because I was just like, you had these guys who were the faces of these companies for years.
But we're talking about guys though. When female UFC became popular when? Because of who?
That's true.
That's
true. Well, and not to mention what we were talking about earlier about boxing is MMA isn't the same. If you lose, that doesn't discredit you at all. You lost because you're fighting the best of the best.
So them losses by Ronda Rousey didn't take steam off her career?
I mean, it did, but at the same time, she's still the same star. And then, it doesn't take. I don't think that it takes away from her star hugely.
And then I'll say this: is Conor still the same Conor after losing to Khabib in such a dominant fashion?
Well, he lost with a broken foot, so it doesn't matter now, right?
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, this is just news that just came out. They literally
it just now came out.
He had a broken foot. I mean, I think it's bullshit, but
man said he had a messed up shirt. Everybody say they got a messed up something when they lose.
Oh, fuck yeah. I mean
what?
And the fact that it came
Anderson Silva said he had a broke rib when he fought Chael Sonnen the first time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's true or false,
not.
But
exactly. Like,
I think if he had a broken rib, he probably broke it in the middle of the fight.
Exactly. That's when he probably broke the rib. Them body punches was eating him. But that's a whole nother topic. But
so I think it just goes back to kind of what we were talking about boxing. When you lose in boxing, I mean, it takes away from you in a big level. But in MMA, I mean, I don't think that it does. Even now, I don't think Conor's star is as dimmed as
I was asking. I didn't say it was as dimmed. I'm just
to me it is though. Just a casual fan, from a casual fan's perspective, to me, Conor McGregor is a little bit stained out here.
Really?
In my opinion, that's just my opinion.
What I'm saying?
Is it because of his in cage fighting, or is it because of his actions outside of
I don't care about his actions in the world, because
so you're just strictly talking in his
because combat fighters always do some bullshit outside the ring or whatever.
They're kind of just naturally erratic beings.
Yeah.
Well,
that CTE be taking a toll.
Well, that, and when you I mean, that's very true though. That's very true. And not to mention, I mean, what you do for a living is literally beating another man's ass. And if you constantly beating another man's ass, ain't nobody gonna tell you shit. I don't care what
And
anybody
it takes
has
some
to say.
crazy to do it.
Exactly.
You gotta be crazy.
Hell yeah.
You right. There's a certain level of crazy you got to be to lock yourself in a cage with a man from 15 to 25 minutes and tell him beat my ass or I'm beating your ass.
Exactly. You gonna tell John Jones not to do something?
Right.
You know what? I mean, if I got a pistol on me, yeah. I'm gonna keep it a whole bill. I have to.
He would whoop your ass and then hold that pistol in front of your
if
face.
I'm 20 feet away from him, I don't give a. I
He can reach you from
good
20
shit.
feet away. Have you seen how long his arms are?
Exactly, yeah. That's why I said 20. If I was in 10 feet, I'd be like, I'm probably fucked. But yeah, 20 feet, I'm busting Josh Jones' ass. Tab. Are you calm, sir? Oh, God, bro. And I'm going to ask for a picture after I shoot him.
All right, so we all got true on that. Boxers are held higher than
Yeah,
MMA
man.
fighters. All right.
Thank you all for tuning in to the Throwbank Show. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as we did recording the show. Don't forget to follow us on our socials. And don't forget to check out our WordPress, ratedrstudios.home.blog. And never forget, it's a marathon. Run a lap. Throwbanks, out.